Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Sheheen. Welcome to the GEICO 15-minute Moto Show. And today, we are talking Moto with old Tutu, Chad Reed. Well, this isn't Tutu Motorsports, but it is Tutu Motorsports, kind of in a way. Where are we?
Yeah, this is the smallest version of Tutu Motorsports. This is Tutu Motorsports slash my kids riding. Now it's you can see behind us here. I've got 2 bikes and they've got like 6 or so bikes, so I'm outnumbered now.
Yeah, and a wide variety of sizes going down here too, because you got 3. What are the ages now?
Now we're basically 11, 8, and 6. They're all 2 years apart. So.
I won't ask the age of the big guy at the end though.
Yeah.
So are any of them, because you have 2 boys and a daughter,
yep.
right? Any of them interested in being on the big bike on the end?
So Moto was kind of like something that we did. It was fun, but there wasn't really burning desire to, get more serious. And then I swear, the day I retired and the day that Dad's kind of like, okay, we're not going to the races anymore, they grew, they want to watch Supercross. Like, they wouldn't go, they had a front row seat. Yeah. They wouldn't go into the stands. Like, they didn't want to go up into the stands with Ellie. Ellie had to drag him up into the stands to watch Dad practice. And then now here we are watching it on, on the app. They watch every practice, every qualifying. Yeah. They know more than me. I come home from, working on Moto 40 and they're like, oh, Dad, Jet did this, or Kenny did this, Coop did this, Eli this, and I'm like, okay. And I get literally all my Supercross information comes through my kids now. So it's fun to experience, and definitely with that, their burning desire. The boys in particular are wanting to do Moto, I think, a little bit more than ever. I think it's more just on me, like, when do I have that time to fully allow that to happen?
Is that fun or is that scary?
It's both.
Is it?
Yeah, 100% both. Like, I love that they moto. They're super talented at it. Like, the way they stare and their little style, the little information that you give them, they take it on well. The things that scare me is the things that you know about it, right?
Sure.
And I think that, somebody that's spent their life doing it, for sure it's scary. I know everything good and bad about it. I'm hoping that in the event that we do go this route, the good and the bad that that maybe you can steer the ship away from some of the things that you want to stay away from. And but yeah, I love that they love it. They enjoy it. I see the same excitement that I used to feel as a kid in my kids. So
okay, so I'm going to really scare you here for a second. You realize your oldest is 11.
Yes.
And when you were 18, you and Ellie took off to chase your dream. And you left Australia and went to Europe and never looked back. He's 7 years away from that, Chad. That's a blink of an eye. That could happen.
Yeah, we're more than halfway there, technically. And it's, and it probably won't happen in the event that they're going to go overseas, unless they want to go do, something in Europe or go back to Australia. The only thing I would add to it is, in the event that one of them wants to do it or all of them want to do it, Ellie and I have created somewhat of the luxury that we can go. My family, I had brothers and sisters, and my mom and dad had jobs. We weren't fortunate enough to pack up. I think that my mom and dad, in a perfect world, would have loved to pack everything and go to Europe and, and kind of do what you're seeing, like the Lawrence brothers' parents are doing and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you have to support that, right? I mean, I live that life. Yeah. It's crazy, like some of the things that your parents question, you get an understanding of it when you're a parent. I don't fully understand what my parents personally did, but definitely understand the concerns that you have as a mom and a dad. And in the event that we have to encounter that, then all you can do is try to take your years of experience. We're not in this. It's not an apples versus apples situation. Ellie and I live a very different or have lived a very different life than what my parents did. So hopefully that allows us a little more freedom to, pack up and help or be influential in a different way.
Yeah. So as I looked around here, I mean, on the ceiling here, so many of your helmets from your career and other mementos around here from an unbelievable career, 2 Supercross titles, the World Championship, a 450 outdoor title as well, and the Lights Championships, lots to celebrate. Anything missing? Any regret?
No regret, but always, as a racer, you always know that, like you look back at things that you learned, more events that I learned, like I did this wrong, recognizing that, the years that you fell short. There's zero regret, if I'm honest. The only thing I have is just like those life experiences, the things when I fell short, is understanding. Because in the moment, you have one understanding, and then when you get older, you have kids and you retire. I think the understanding comes a little different, a little bit more clear. But yeah, nothing. No, I honestly don't really have like regrets. Everything I did it because it felt like it was the right thing to do at that point in time. And had I, if I had the chance to do it all over again, I don't know that there's a whole lot of, decisions or moments in my career that I would change drastically the second time around.
So even Daytona 08, how do you look at that one now?
You know what? It's weird to say, but it's one of the best memories that I have as a.
It is for me.
In my racing.
It was unbelievable.
Like,
call.
There's nothing more. The only thing I did, I literally, like, on the very first lap, Wyndham's bike's missing. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, he ain't going to make the race. My bike, I think they shortened the race to 15 minutes or 15 laps. We were laps those days. And so they went 5, maybe even 12. It was like 12 to 15 laps. And my understanding is, look, these motorcycles, they don't run on water, right? Let's do the best that we can. Keep the thing out of the water as best as I could. And, like, basically you had to visual, because there was so much standing water. You had to visually go, okay, the line goes like this, and so you would basically just try to cut across it, because you knew that in the middle somewhere, it was really deep. On the very last lap, the second to last lap, should I say, on the table-to-table section that they always had by pit road there, there was a lapper, and I kind of slowed, and normally I was trying to lift the front wheel up and always just allow the water to be going out and kind of behind, rather than like coming up through the radiators and into the engine, and then obviously ultimately into the filter and then into the engine. So that was just my mind. And at that point, I'm a minute 16 seconds, minute 20 second lead. I'm executing, I'm having the most fun ever, to be honest. Just like those conditions, you were so busy that everything was just like, you were so in the rhythm, Zero brakes for whatever reason. There was so much water that going into the first turn, I think the water was spreading the pads. And so when you would hit the brake or you would hit the rear brake, it was just straight nothing, because the pad wasn't making contact. And so at no point for the rest of the race, other than like that first little pull into the first turn, zero brakes. So you basically had to learn that, and understand, let the water slow you down, do those things. And I dunked the bike one time. I don't know if that was just, a coincidence or if that really did the damage. But yeah, and then like the last lap, my bike started spluttering a little bit. And then it just didn't make it. And then, it's hard to say that like one dunk did it, because I actually physically seen the engine. There was no rings left. The piston was gone. So basically it just lost compression. And as it loses compression, the RPM just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And I'm just like, this is not good. I kicked it 1,000 times and knew that it was never going to start, but I couldn't push it. And then all I could do to contribute was try to refire the thing,
Yeah. Is there one race that you look back on and you go, that's the one night I got it all together?
The one night, yeah. I mean, thankfully there's a few of those. Daytona 05 comes to mind the most, as far as like I think it was the weekend before in Atlanta. I was leading, Ricky passed me, Ricky fell, I was leading, Ricky just caught me, ate me up, passed me in the same spot twice, just kicked my butt, just was one of those weekends that I couldn't produce speed. It was one of the first weekends that they cut berms out of the racetracks, and I just couldn't find the rhythm and the lap time. And so I went into the next weekend just mad, and just knew it was Ricky's home track, knew it was Ricky's strongest weekend likely, and I just came out swinging, executed perfectly, kicked his ass, and it's one that I'll take to the grave for sure.
Yeah. How much of that era of you and Ricky and James racing was so spectacular to watch and to call for me? How much has that shaped you after? Because you had to push yourself to be competitive with those two to levels that maybe you didn't even know you had.
It shaped your, it shaped your life. Prior to that, you got to that point because of the work and the effort that you put in. But definitely, like going through all those moments and the ups, the downs, the wins, the butt kickings that I took. Those things shape you for when you've got your own children and you're encountering more normal day life as far as creating things, figuring things out, failing in those things, and then just rebounding and just going on and jumping back into a new project. That's how I compare the two, because it's like there was so many weekends that I took just massive beatings, but I always thought that, hey, like you leave that beating and you do the work the next week and they drop that gate again and you got a whole nother opportunity, and you can't carry last week's, disappointments or wins into that, and then you just have to take it as a fresh new week, and that's kind of how I tackle life.
We used to talk a lot on the air about your grittiness and how tough you were that way. Where did that all come from for you?
I think it comes from the fear of not participating at something that I love doing, or something that I signed up and gave a promise to a team or a sponsor that I'll give my all at all times. The fear of like not being there was always higher than the fear or the pain that I felt. The pain that I felt emotionally by basically just telling yourself, what, tonight I'm not going to race. The pain hurts. The actual physical pain was never high enough to, let it take over that more emotional side of it. So then I always lined up. I always, whether it was broken bones, dislocated shoulders, it was always your job and your duty was to line up and give it your all.
So how do you replace that? I mean, obviously you don't want more pain, but there's an adrenaline I think that has to come with that too, right? Something that fuels you to push yourself. So how do you push yourself now?
More just like the enjoyment of being a dad. I would say that there's multiple things going on in my life right now, and kids are the biggest part of that. And so just really understanding like what's post racing. I get very similar joys from the work ethic that you did to achieve race wins and fighting for championships, as far as starting new projects. We just started Moto 40 here in North Carolina, and it's doing great. So like being able to do things that create a better opportunity for my family, I get massive amounts of joy from that. Watching my kids whether it be on BMX bikes or motorcycles, and giving them little things and trying to steer them in the right direction. All those things are things that I get that same joy. And I didn't know if that was going to be possible. I was nervous at some point when you're like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to, kind of retire. But for me, it was, I held on to the fact that I loved it, and I was willing to put the effort in. And then the moment that I felt, I was always looking for a sign, like throw me a bone. What is it that says I've had enough, And that moment came, and it was just like I felt that as a racer, you never arrive. You know, you're always working. There's always things you can be better at. And I felt like I got to a point in my life where I was proud of what I did. And that moment was the sign for me, you know, that I was content. I was happy with what I had achieved, and I'd never felt that before, you know, like I'd always be mad. I was always like working to be better, working to achieve more. And so as soon as I, you know, felt that moment of like, wow, like look what I've done and look where I've came from, that was my moment of like, I'm good. I've done what I've needed to do.
Okay, final question. When you wrapped up and got off the bike in Salt Lake City at the end of the 2020 season, you said there was a possibility you might do one more so that you could really finish in front of the fans. Is that still an option, or are you done?
I always said that I wanted to race a race when I was 40. I'm not 40 yet. Next year I will be 40. Supercross still didn't look visually fun to me this year. It's still COVID restricted. So I don't think I missed anything this year. I think that, you know, maybe in my 40th birthday, I will try again and entertain the idea again of like, okay, let's go put the work effort in. Yeah, let's start training, and we'll see if I can find that commitment. And if I can find that commitment and that enjoyment of grinding away and getting into shape, because I don't want to come back just to race or just to practice I want to go to the main event, you know, and sitting out a whole season and, you know, I am going to be 40 when I race, if I do. It's a steep order, you know, qualifying, you know, being one of 22 of the best Supercross riders in the world. You don't get to come off the couch like you once upon a time could. So it would take a lot of effort on me, and I would want to come back and somewhat have a shot at being competitive, and whether that's fighting. You know, that's realistically, that's not fighting for wins or top fives. It's making it to the main event and putting on an effort that would make you proud to be able to go 20 plus, what is it, one lap nowadays? Yeah.
Well, that'd be fun to watch. Okay, make sure if you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, Statesville specifically, and you're looking to go riding, it is Moto 40, right? Moto 40. You'll see the 2-2 out there. They'll be quick, but it might not be this one. Might be one of these littler ones over here. Chad, thanks for letting us come by and visit you here at the new 22 Motorsports.
Thanks, Ralph. It's good to see you again.
You too, old friend. Okay, don't forget, every Monday we have a new episode for you of the GEICO 15-Minute Moto Show. We'll see you soon.